position on it. I've emailed others, I've gotten no response. So it's a very important matter, and I think it's time that you guys decide whether or not you're for this or you're against it. You know, you Supervisor, you know, you talk about the Grumman situation, and you know, we're years down the road. You need to be safe here and careful, and you can't have interested parties, financially interested parties, deciding what should and should not go on this site, because there's testing that's going on right now by the DEC, and you need to have an independent
Mr. McKenna, are you suggesting that the DEC is working in cahoots with a private developer to change or somehow adjust the results of the study?
I didn't say that. I said that right now there's a recent change in the DEC's plan on one of the sites, and there's testing that they have asked to have happen.
So that you know.
And let me just finish. And I foiled, it's actually a good time to bring this up, and then I won't even take time on the other ones. But I foiled back on, and this is a very, very important matter, which you say you're concerned about. Back in April, I foiled...
You really don't need to go down that road. Please tell us the information.
I foiled the testing. The town of Oyster Bay is obligated every certain period over the past 5 years to do testing of the soil, the gases. I was going to read it, but there's no need. It's very, very important.
Let's get an answer for you. Can you tell us, Commissioner?
Can I just finish?
I was going to get you an answer on
I didn't ask you the question yet. I foiled the test results of this, and I got a response back from the clerk's office, which comes from the environmental department, and it said that within 20 days that a determination would be made that I would get those results. That was in April. I received another letter dated May 22nd, basically saying that
excuse me, Mr.
you can't provide the information. So I'm concerned that you don't have the test results, and that's why I think that you need to get an independent consultant to make sure that you get the proper results on these sites, because you apparently don't have them.
Thank you, Mr. McKenna, for your testimony. It's greatly appreciated. Our next speaker is Robert Ripp.
So you're not interested in the independent consultant?
We are very interested in that. You've had 10 minutes to give us information like everyone else, and we appreciate that testimony.
What would be the next step that would happen as a board to try to decide whether or not that's something that's possible?
We are going to be going through that process, and we will clearly...
What's the process?
Sir, you may use your time as you wish.
I'm asking you a very legitimate question. What is the process that the board will take to decide this?
I know you'll be coming back up during the public comment period. So let's return to this and let the next person have their time.
So maybe by that time you can figure out what the process is. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Robert Ripp of Massapequa.
Hello, my name is Robert Ripp. I'm from Massapequa, New York. So before we begin, I just want to...
Would you kindly give us your address as is?
Oh, 77 Sunset Road, Massapequa, New York. I just want to touch on rules of decorum before I start.
Well, it's part of your time. I guess you...
That's okay. That's all right. Listen, what I just want to say is that I hope you recognize that you allow 10 minutes, and I have the floor for 10 minutes. The rules of decorum that I shouldn't be interrupted.
Well, when we're going over those rules, it's important to point out that everyone must abide by the rules.
You're running my time.
And also that people's
You're violating the rules right now.
And also that people's conduct, when they're not speaking and they're sitting here, must be respectful of others.
I agree with you.
And I would ask that you please keep that in mind for all board meetings.
You know, I agree with you, and I think that the rules of decorum should be adhered to on all sides here. And in all fairness, I'd ask you to reset the clock now that we've come to a conclusion on that. I mean, it's only a minute. But you did use some of my time. I do have 10 minutes, right? So it's only fair. Right. I appreciate it. It would only be fair, right?
Are you talking again?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're also going to be respectful, and we hope that all residents will be respectful.
Listen, what I want to start out with is the cell phone tower thing. I've done as much research as I can, and I noticed, Mr. Saladino, that you constantly have said that the town has sued, but I've yet to find one lawsuit that the town has instigated. It looks like the town has been sued a number of times over taking back permits.
Let's get that question.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me get my 10 minutes, and you keep interrupting me.
Well, if you're going to make a claim,
I'm not making a claim on
isn't
this.
it important? Don't you want the public to hear the truth?
Fair. If you'd like for me to finish my statement and then reply, because you're jumping, I didn't even finish what I'm saying and you're already interrupting me. I mean, I really would prefer if I can get my 10 minutes and just speak without being interrupted. I didn't even get done saying what I was saying and you interrupted me already. Okay? What I wanted to say was, to the best of my knowledge, what I've been able to determine is the town has been sued a number of times. One time was by AT&T, specifically because we revoked the special use permits. I've yet to find an incident where the town has sued any of the telecommunication companies. If you could point one out to me, I'd appreciate it. Okay? Getting into resolution 285, right? This is a resolution we spoke about a number of things. This is in the sidewalk deal that you have going on. This resolution, we now want to provide a 2-year contract for $50,000 a year to this company, Schneider Engineering, so they can review the sidewalk work. And last time I was up here, I was able to explain a few things about the sidewalk program, but I learned more, so I'd really like to explain these things to you and to the public, because
It is also important to point out that you came, last time you were here, you came here making claims, and we found out from our experts that they were not the case. So it's important.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So
You're
my
interrupting
point is that there has been a pattern of you coming to this board meeting, which you have the right to do, but to provide information that doesn't happen to be true.
I disagree. I disagree. For instance, you just said that the town. I'll give you a good one. You told me that you knew that 25 people were interviewed for Justin McCarthy's job, but you refused to identify who those 25 people are. Okay, so whatever. All right. Listen, in the sidewalk program, back in 2013, the town amended the law. Okay, so that if the town. They included a law that was sidewalk compliance required. And you passed a law so that if the town deemed that your sidewalk had to be repaired and you refused to repair it, that the town could go ahead and repair the sidewalk and then place the cost of the sidewalk repair against the person's property tax. And then later on, at the same time, July 12th, that was the same day that you passed the law that allowed you to go after people for violating your sidewalk code and then place the cost of it against their property tax. The same day you ended the sidewalk repair subsidy program. This is July 12th, okay? You went on to pass another resolution, 599 of 216, that claimed that the purpose of that contract is for the replacement of residential concrete within the town's right-of-way, for which requests have been received prior to the termination of the sidewalk program. Supposedly you terminated the sidewalk program, but then you went and you passed another resolution to continue doing it. Now, we spoke at the last meeting where the town has been sending out threatening letters to sidewalk people. Fix your sidewalk or else. Now I discovered that you've also passed a number of resolutions. This one is
Just so we're
32.
clear, Mr. Rip, the town doesn't send threatening letters.
I have it right in front of me. I read it last
They're
time.
informative, and that's a position that you are taking.
Okay. So, I can read it again for you, but, all right, so now, here are the resolutions where the town board, you've actually voted to place the sidewalk repair against the residents' property tax. Now, back in March 21st, the town presented this resolution 94 of 217. If you don't know, I was actually in court today on it, The restraining order still stands against the town because the town violated the open meetings law when you passed this resolution. Now, we spoke about this because the day that you proposed this resolution, the only piece of information that was given to the residents is this simple phrase: resolution pertaining to award of construction contract H16-146 concrete replacement throughout the town of Oyster Bay. You listed memorandum docket information, but you didn't provide it. I mentioned at the last meeting that I thought it was very strange that this resident, Paul Marinari, was able to come up here and speak in depth about this resolution when nobody knew what it was about and what it was going on. As a matter of fact, the court approved the TRO because they agreed that nobody could know what was happening, but yet Mr. Molinari knew what was happening. Mr. Molinari spoke at the last meeting and he explained what an expert he is and how great he was in school, but he never explained how he knew what was going on prior to this meeting with this. Today we're in court because you passed Resolution 251. All the 251 did was supersede Resolution 94 so that you continue paying Laser the $4 million for this terminated sidewalk repair. What's ironic is I was told by Frank Scalera, town attorney Frank Scalera, that Land Tech walked off this job and it necessitated a rebid, which I don't have any proof that anything was rebid, but then Laser got the job. Actually, I do have proof. Because what's interesting is, even though Land Tech walked off the job allegedly so Laser could pick it up, you accepted bids from Land Tech for the rest of the job. Now, I'd like to speak about Resolution 289. This is for a hearing for upcoming Jericho Water District. I've been doing some research on water districts, and I started in Massapequa. And there's some interesting things, because I think this has something to do with ethics and probably conflict of interest, because I determined that Mr. Carmen, the deputy town supervisor, his firm, this is the way that it works in the Massapequa Water District, I'm not sure about Jericho yet, but they award contracts every year for consulting agreements, no big contracts, they just give them out year after year. Now, Joe Pinto had the contract for about a decade as the accountant consultant with the Massapequa Water District. Why he wouldn't be working in the comptroller's office now instead of Parks Department is beyond me. But I also noticed, excuse me, sir, I also noticed that...
Mr. Rip, I'm just going to point out something.
Stop the clock.
Wait a second. You're not in charge of the clock. Let's just be clear about that. We have a pattern of you coming to meetings, and if you have testimony for us, fine.
I do, and I'm giving it to you right now.
But, Mr. Rip, we are not going to entertain more of your attacks.
These are not attacks.
Well, you have in the past.
No, I haven't. And you're burning my time again because you don't want to hear the pertinent issue.
Not that.
The fact is that Mr. Carmen is the legal counsel to the Massapequa Water District.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. I have his contract. Now, his firm is.
That is wrong.
No, it's not.
Information.
Now, what I would like to ask is, before the Jericho Water District comes up here, I think that we should identify any other town employees that may or may not have consulting contracts with any of the water districts, because there could be a possible conflict of interest.
Our town employees fill out financial disclosure forms that are now more detailed than they have ever been before since we took office.
If we had an issue with the Massapequa Water District, if we had an issue with the Massapequa Water District right now, and they're represented by Mr. Carmen's firm, how could Mr. Carmen be working for the town of Oyster Bay and for the municipality at the same time?
Does not represent the Massapequa Water
His firm does represent the Massapequa Water District, and I'll tell you what, tomorrow, if you would ever open up or accept one of my emails, I'll email you his contract, because I have it, I foiled it and I have it, okay? So now, Resolution 292, Resolution 292, I'd like to move on.
Mr. Rip, before you move on, you come to these meetings, you make accusations that are not true.
I'm not making any accusations, I'm stating fact. You, sir, say things that are not true. Okay, Resolution 292.
I don't believe that's the case.
I don't know anyone arguing with me. 292.
And there's been a pattern here.
I brought this up at the last meeting. Frank Scalera spoke about 6 months ago about evidently trying to recoup money from horrendous thing. In Resolution 292, it looks like the town attorney, it's hard to tell because your backup, you have one piece of information. It says, this office is finalizing a summons and complaint relative to certain claims against individuals and entities associated with losses sustained by the town as a result of prior concessionaires operations. So what I'd like to know is, number one, I never thought I would say this, but it appears that the town of Oyster Bay is representing themselves in this action. And I never thought I would say that you need to hire outside counsel, but based on my experience with the Office of the Town Attorney, if If we want to get our money back from Mr. Singh, I think we need to hire outside counsel on this. But I also understand, the residents of the town have been waiting for years to find out what's going on with Mr. Singh, the SRP, are we going to get the money back? And now you're starting the procedure, and you're coming out with a resolution that has no backup material with it. It doesn't explain anything. It doesn't tell anybody. It doesn't even say that we're going after Singh or anybody. It just says that we're starting litigation. You're asking for permission for litigation. Resolution 284. Evidently, the New York State Department of Labor Division of Safety and Health Public Employee made assessed a couple penalties against the town for safety violations. I was wondering if you could explain those safety violations.
Thank you, Mr. Rip. That's your time, and we appreciate your testimony.
We'll see you in public comment, sir.
I'm sure we'll be reading all about it. Our next speaker is Robert Fryer of Woodbury.
Hi, Robert Fryer, 33 Chestnut Lane in Woodbury, New York. I want to try and go as quick as possible because I want to get to Massapequa to celebrate Christine Pellegrino's resounding win tonight. So, very exciting news. As far as, now, I guess I would normally, if things were different, but in light of your recent mailer that was a blatant political mailer.
Mr. Fryer, are you here to speak about a resolution?
I am speaking about a resolution. Please stop interrupting me. I am.
Because this is
not
the quorum. This is not the venue.
I am talking about a resolution.
Give us 10 minutes.
I am talking about a resolution. Now, can I get my time restarted?
Sir, please tell us what you would like to say. You could just leave it the way it is. Please tell us what you would like to state on the resolutions.
Why?
I know you want to come back
on
the public comments.
Well, I want to get... Okay. On Resolution 259, July 29th, now you're trying to get elected. I know you haven't been elected, but you're trying to get elected to be town supervisor. July 29th in Burns Park, Music Under the Stars, the Joe Saladino Band is playing.
What does that have to do with these resolutions?
Because it's part of that resolution. It's actually on that resolution.
This is the story on that for clarity. We're playing as a donation to the town, not charging $1, and the entire Music Under the Stars program, which has the same amount of appearances, is costing the taxpayers 45% less this year. We're working with sponsorships for everything, including our fireworks show, and we are saving the taxpayers.
You are running for election. You are trying to get elected to the board. Yet you're self-promoting yourself by playing in a band with town workers speaking, with town workers there. You're paying for lights, you're paying for sound.
As a resident of this town, it is legal to make a donation to the town. And that's what we're doing at no cost.
Self-promotion
Well, sir,
of yourself.
Speaking as a Democrat candidate for the town council, it's not a surprise that you would take these positions.
Just like the mailer you sent out at our expense, which I hope you will pay the taxpayers back.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the reality is I've spoken with many residents, and whether you realize it or not all residents have access to the internet. And as I go from event to event, I speak to people. I spoke to Eleanor from Syosset recently. She said, "Thank you for giving me this information." And I asked her a few questions about that. And she said, "Please continue to keep me posted on what you're doing."
Okay.
We are going to put more and more information into any mailer, governmental information.
How much did that mailer cost for us?
Governmental information,
How much did that mailer
like
cost
how to get help, who the elected officials are to call.
There wasn't even a phone number on that.
People are to call to get responses and to get
There
assistance.
wasn't even a phone number on that. There wasn't even a...
As a matter of fact, there was a way to get email information, and the reason we do that, Mr. Fryer, The reason we do that is to collect up as much email as possible, to shift from mail to email wherever possible. But there are senior citizens that I care about, that want and ask for information. If you don't have the same feelings toward them, I can't
You're
control
very
that.
transparent,
But I care about them.
unelected supervisor.
I want to
We see right through you.
I want to point out that this is not the venue for you to make political statements.
Not making a
And it's
political
very
statement.
clear
You're playing in a band, promoting yourself.
for free to the taxpayers.
You're paying right, sanctioned by
But
the
you
town
don't
of
have
Oyster
to
Bay.
attend it.
Who booked the band?
You
Who
don't
chose
have to
to have
attend
you
it,
appear
Mr.
that
Fryer.
night? Who chose
You
to
don't
have
have to attend it.
Answer
You
my
don't want-
question. Who chose to have you appear that night in a band? Did you?
Mr. Fryer, you don't have to attend. Does the public want
Who-
free music that's been donated? We'll see that night.
Who chose the Joe Saladino band to play at Burns Park on July 29th?
Mr. Fryer,
Can you answer that question?
your
Whose decision
political
was that?
shenanigans are
Whose
not
decision
going to
was
get
that?
you anywhere.
I'd like to know.
If you would
I
like
think a
to,
lot of people in this room would like to know who made that decision for the Joe Saladino band to play on July 29th at Burns Park.
is that what's going to continue here?
Answer
Are
the
you
question.
going to
Why
use
won't you
this
answer the
for
question?
your political gain? Just because you didn't make,
You-
you weren't successful last time.
You playing
heard
your band?
comments.
Oh my God.
And I've heard the lies that you've been
Oh,
perpetrating to
Come on,
the
Mr.
public.
Saladino, tell the truth.
And I really don't
Why
have the
can't you even
patience.
answer any questions?
Because, sir, you're using this governmental platform for your political shenanigans.
You just
Oh, we're gonna have order in this room.
Take a look at that.
We're gonna have order in
Sit
this room, and if you can't abide by the respectful process, then we're just not going to include you. We're not, I didn't come down from Albany to entertain a circus. And quite frankly, some people in this room should be ashamed of themselves.
Yes,
So
Yes.
if you have something
they're sitting up in the
to add,
dais.
some testimony on these resolutions, that is not a
I have a
political
question.
platform.
Who chose to have the Joe Saladino band
Sir?
perform July 29th?
Resolution. Where are we at on this one resolution? This is going
This is
on.
taking advantage of the people who come here for real information,
Mr. Salvino's
not
keeping
for
it going.
Does anyone
political
want to go in
gain.
this room?
I'd
like to know.
I'd like to know.
Inquiring minds.
Okay.
What else would you like to make as
So
your statement?
you're not answering that question? Once, okay.
I answered the question.
No,
It's
you didn't.
free
Who
for the
chose
public.
your band?
And what else would you like to make? You can use your time the way you want, but I didn't come down here
That's all.
to entertain
All
your
right,
political
I'll skip the
circus.
rest of the questions so I can go celebrate with Christine, who's
Well, again, you're
replacing you
making
in
political
your seat.
statements.
Thank you.
Best of luck to
Very
you, sir.
successful. Thanks. Let's try fast. Thank you.
That's very childish. You know, we have rules of decorum here.
And you don't
And I
follow.
realize that a number of people left here are clearly here for politics. They've been nominated to run as Democrats, and they're here
And they appoint
to
themselves.
stir things up as they wish. But we're not going to use the public's time for the political circus that we've seen. And quite frankly, the number of people who come here, feel proud about themselves, and go home and get on the internet and say whatever they want, not
What are
worry
you
about
worried
the
about,
truth.
sir? Why would you
Truth.
say something like that? What
Sir.
are you worried about?
Sir, we're not going to put up with shenanigans from the get-go.
I know that, that's why we're here.
And that's the public, that's the comment. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on these resolutions? Can I have a vote, please?
I'm sorry, can I just ask one quick question? Before, I know I was late, I'm sorry.
Up to the mic.
Come on. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Sure, my name is Jack Ostrick, 1 Elm Street in Woodbury, New York.
Thank you.
It's related to
This
the
is, this is on the resolutions.
yes, it's related to the prior questions regarding the cell phone towers.
Okay.
Just my only question was, is there a time frame that we can think about as to when we may see town ordinance be suggested and then potentially voted on regarding?
Yes, let's get some help from our town attorney's office. So this evening, we have engaged a firm And let's go through the process a little.
Yes, and we've engaged a law firm. They will be drafting a proposed ordinance. The resolution, I think, is prepared already that will allow for a public hearing to be held on the ordinance. We will welcome input from the public. We have experts who have drafted ordinances before, but we would welcome input from all the community regarding the nature of the ordinance and its effects and its enforcement, as well as from our department heads. After the public hearing is closed, it then will be put up for a vote before the town board at the next town board meeting, and shortly thereafter adopted. It becomes a local law. It amends our town
We
code.
can't hear you. You said there's a hearing? When is there?
Yes.
Can you go to the microphone?
We can't hear. Here, what is the?
Yes, just 1 second.
Come on, Joe Vasella, why don't you step over here so that we can provide information to everyone who's here.
The amendment to the town code and the drafting of the provisions that you're asking about require first that we have a public hearing. It has been noticed already for June 6th. We will be proposing a draft, not draft resolution, a draft code provision. We expect, now that we have going to engage this law firm who have drafted for other municipalities very strict, very helpful code provisions, that they will have one in very short order for us that we will then be able to publish. After it's been published at the June 6th hearing, we may need more time after June 6th, it depends upon how quickly it's drafted, but by more time I mean perhaps a subsequent board meeting. We would then welcome comments from the public as well as input from our department heads and from other experts. Incidentally, the telecommunications industry, just like the public, has a right to comment on it. But after all public comment, we'll have a final code provision which would be put to a vote by the board, and it's effectively adopted as a local law. And then it's on our books, and it's a code provision. We're talking about a matter of weeks. Yes, please.
And the publication would be at the board meeting, not publicly provided before that? My question would be, let's say we provide the publication for the June 6th board meeting, it doesn't really give public forum an opportunity to ask or spend any time thinking or researching about it. If it's published at the meeting and then handed to the public, that's
Okay.
Yes.
So I think what we're looking at here, well, okay, we've engaged one of the top law firms in this. We are changing the code, and we're going to protect as many of the public's rights as is possible. It's very important that you realize that the federal government has tied every town and every village, every municipality across the United States, and given us a very narrow options, a very narrow number of options as what we can do. We are going to continue to fight vehemently to stop the proliferation of these repeaters.
I'm not
So you want to...
I was just trying to understand the process by which the public could see it first. My concern would be, we show up at the board meeting, it's placed down in front of us, and then it says, okay, what are your comments? No, that wouldn't give me opportunity to think intelligently
to
about it.
research it.
And Go ahead. You're quite right. And under those circumstances, if in fact it were published that very day and that was the first time that anybody got to see it, we would of course extend the time. We're trying to act with all due speed because this problem has come upon us and so swiftly and overwhelmed so many of our residents and so many members of the town of Oyster Bay government. But we're also going to make sure that we do it correctly and in all the proper steps. I believe we may have something that will be online and ready to be distributed or handed out to anybody who requests it in advance of June 6th. If I'm mistaken, and it's done just before or on that day, it would be appropriate and proper that we have additional time granted for anybody who wants to add their comments or to review it and to research it. But that would be, again, perhaps for the sake of speed, another 2 weeks to go to the next town board meeting. But we will not be doing this in a sloppy way. It will be done with all deliberate speed, but appropriately and effectively, so that the job is done correctly and right.
I just wanted to make sure I had time to circulate it to my residents.
Okay.
So that they could have opinions. That was
Certainly.
I think we can assure you that will happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down tonight.
Hey, excuse me, we have something to say about the same,
Sure. Come on up.
You mind if we,
Come up together, absolutely, that's fine.
we're neighbors?
Hi, my name is Rosalie. Rosalie, I do need 2 Calvert Drive. Thank you for hearing us and our
Of course.
concerns. We, unbeknownst to us, suddenly have these cell phone towers. We didn't get to have a say in it, and I'm very appreciative that you're backing us 100%.
100%.
I personally have an autoimmune disease and migraines, and I struggle with my health every day. I work with children, and I have a corner house. There's a cell phone tower 50 feet from my bedroom. I can't speak on my cell phone because I get shooting pains in my head. I can't wait for research to happen. I do have 2 health studies here, one from Harvard Medical School that I could read you about, and one from, Cold Spring Labs.
Of course.
They just did a big study, like millions of dollars study, proving, showing $25 million animal study, showing that it's causing cancer and all these other type of things.
Can we have copies of that?
Absolutely.
What
have
I will
both
do
of
is,
those things.
what I will do is forward that, not only will we look at it, but I'll also forward it to our United States senators.
I've written to them, but while this is happening, I have to sleep, not even 50 feet away from this cell phone tower, and there's one on both sides of my block.
I understand.
And, it's impacting personally my own health and the children that I see. I have a small practice, an occupational therapist. I understand that you're going to do the studies, but I don't know when. Should I read this to say something?
Well, what we're actually doing, to clarify, is we're pushing the federal government, our United States senators, to change the law quickly and to allow us to stop all of these repeaters while we're waiting for the results of the study. The study that they have based the law on is that it was concluded prior to 1996. And we believe that they should change the law, give us the rights to decide where these go, and do this study.
Are they activated at this point?
Some of them are.
How would I know if Oz was activated?
We would ask for an RF meter reading at your
I
site.
understood, I read that in the newspaper article that you were asking for that. How would I get that to happen?
If you'll leave your information with our town attorney, we'll reach out to the FCC and to the contractor and ask them to tell us when they're taking that meter reading.
We asked the people what they were doing, and they told us they had, we called the town, and they said they didn't know anything about it.
This is why we're...
It's something to do with your electrical, they said.
They
just poo-pooed the whole thing.
We know nothing about any permits for poles. Call your electric company. This was fairly recently.
Yeah, you're talking about people who are out there actually...
No, we called the town. My husband called the town and said there's a pole going up right across the street.
Do you know what office you spoke with? Okay. If you leave your information, please, with our town attorney, we'll keep you updated on our progress with this. Yes, go ahead.
My name is Andy Lowett. I live 12 Calvert Drive, in the same block with my neighbors here. I just wanted to commend you for the actions you've taken.
Thank you.
For the record, I'm looking forward to seeing you perform. But the same questions I have, my main concerns, we just invested in a dormer, significant amount of money, put the dormer up. It's been permitted, CO, and obviously now we have a cell phone tower at approximately 50 feet high, looking straight at our dormer, and about 6 houses down on the other side we have another 50-foot tower. I don't know why Calvert Drive has to have 2 cell phone towers at 50 foot. When Calvert, most people can't even find it on the map. The one on the corner by my dormer is also very close to Southwoods Middle School and Syosset High School. So obviously the concerns, and I did notice the tower on Berry Hill Road, in front of, or diagonally across from Berry Hill, is only at about 25 to 30 feet high. My understanding was they had to be at a 50-foot height based on FCC regulations. So I just wanted to inquire about that as well.
Okay, so if you would give your information to our town attorney. Go ahead, please.
The other towns that are able to do 1,500 feet away, how did they get away with it? If it's federally, the laws are federal.
This is why we reached out to the best firm. We went through the RFP process and we chose the best firm, who was actually the lower of the 2 bidders who did respond. And we have a top firm to help us rewrite this and go through the process. And if we have to litigate, we litigate. Whatever it will take to protect our residents.
What can we do? because I have many
You can
families
help
that
us.
didn't even know about it. There's
You can-
many families that couldn't be here tonight because of their children and you know, so we represent a lot of people, but would numbers help? I mean, how can we help as
Yes,
a
we
community?
need to flood the
I need
offices.
it gone. I mean, it's really affecting me personally, but not just me. And, you know, because I'm in a weakened position, it's gonna affect me more. But other people are being affected, whether they know it or not. It's a very serious, you know, condition.
We agree, and we're taking this very, very seriously. If you would give your information, please, we'll contact you, and we have a number of ways that you could help us with letter writing to our federal senators, and I'm hoping the more they hear, the more they would be motivated to change the law. And once we have the ability, we'll be taking the steps in court and the legal steps that we can, but once they change the law and give us the right to decide where they go, none of them will be in residential neighborhoods.
How long, you don't know how long this will take?
We will keep you posted on that, and we will be moving as quickly as you can. The last speaker spoke about wanting the public to see it, which is a very reasonable request. But each step can be done quickly, or each step can be, we're going to make sure it's done appropriately. We have a good legal team, and we're hiring the best people and taking this very, very seriously. So we'd be happy to keep you apprised of the progress.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and I feel your frustration on this. I'm as frustrated as you are, but we're also very motivated to push back and act solely for our residents. Yes?
I'm also at Joan York, also on Calvert Drive, number 4. You know, and thank you for the promises that you're making to try. I am a little skeptical when I hear we'll try to get most of them moved. I understand people aesthetically don't like
Well,
poles,
we will try
empty
to get
poles.
all of them removed.
But ours are, it's a very short block, 7 houses, one on either side. So these towers are literally towering over us. You know, they say that they lose the power as it gets down to the ground, but when your second floor is at eye level, it's, you know, it's really like a blight on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I was concerned, not only, you know, I saw your flyer also about transparency, and I'm like, yes, this is great, this is what we need. But I have to say, I did put in 2 calls to the office last week. Each time I was told to your specific office, I would get a call back. I followed up with an email today. I don't know how to get this information if I don't get a response. And I do feel that, you know, the hearing, I know that you're putting something in Newsday in the little legal section tomorrow morning, but I don't really feel that it's being publicized as much as, you know, like if you could do a flyer for something like that, maybe you could do a little bit more of an outreach via email or something that doesn't cost the taxpayers money, and let the community know. As I said, when we called to see what was being constructed, we were told by the town of Oyster Bay, we have no idea, no permits were given. That's upsetting to hear.
We are changing our town code. As soon as I found out about this situation, we sprang into action. Hired the legal team to help us be successful with this. We will be demanding the removal of these towers.
There's only one last thing I want to say about
Yes.
the testing and these standards.
Okay.
You know, very often, like, I've had the occasion at my workplace for OSHA to come in, and it was very, it was not a good air quality situation. And OSHA said, you know, when people come in and test emissions or radiation, they're all going to pass, because the standards, for example, in the school I worked at, the standards are really for factories. So, you know, you could say that these, the emissions or the radioactive activity is normal, but that doesn't mean it's healthy. You know, it might meet the standards, but there's a very high bar. And so, you know, when you say testing will be done, if the testing comes back and says, oh, it's under the limits, I mean, I've already read that. And we know that's what they're going to say. It doesn't mean it's a good or healthy situation. And I think you'll agree that when we're paying for 50-year-old homes, $20-something thousand in taxes a year, these are not new homes. We're paying that for quality of quality of life, and this is
Yes,
definitely impacting.
First of all, we share all of your concerns, and we are taking every action that's legal for us to take.
So we'll all
On
stay
the
involved.
tax situation, I know it opens up a long discussion, but the majority of your taxes were foisted upon you by school districts and those school boards that control that.
It just seems kind of ironic, like if you want to extend your deck, you have to send letters to neighbors within, all around and go through, but yet they can put this tower up
This is
without notifying
exactly,
anyone.
this is exactly why we're so frustrated with the federal government.
But did you give the permits? You know, we hear federal government, but Crown Castle, whatever the name is saying that they worked with you on the locations. That's not accurate?
Well, the situation is that Crown Castle went to the highway department and the system that was in place in the past. The town sued to try to stop them in the past. It was not successful, like the vast majority of lawsuits on Long Island and probably throughout the country. So now we are taking more legal means, clearly tightening it up, and I hope you'll stick with us as you watch the progress of changing the code tremendously, taking every step possible, and then using that leverage to demand that they remove the ones that are there near residential homes.
We'll do what we can if you stay in touch with us and let us know.
We will, and I
Thank you.
apologize. Thank you. All right, it seems as though that's all on the resolutions.
I'll call for the votes.
Please.
Motion was made by Council Muscarella, seconded by Councilman McInerney. On the vote from TF 7-17 through Resolution 297, noting that P 1217 was tabled and Resolution 294 was tabled. On the vote, Supervisor Saladino.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Councilman McInerney.
I don't know, exception 259, without financial condition, I applaud the supervisor for trying to get sponsors and everything else, but we shouldn't be having concerts this summer. We really should be cutting back and preserving, so I know, but no on 259.
Councilwoman Alessia.
I have a question or point of clarification. Before I vote on 280, which is the highway contract resolution, supervisor, I spoke earlier today to your deputy supervisor. I've been asking for a work session to discuss the way that we're allocating our road work resources, and he was kind enough to tell me that we would be able to have a work session on June 6th. I just wanted to verify with you that we will have a work session on June 6th to address the residents' concerns. Okay, then I'm aye as to all.
Councilwoman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Abreu.
I abstain on 297 just because I, at one point, used to work for that firm, and I vote aye on the rest of the resolutions.
Councilman Hand.
I abstain based on my newness to the position, with the exception of 295, which I'll be briefly. I say aye to 295.
Motion TF 7-17 to 258 passes with 6 ayes and 1 abstention. 259 passes with 5 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 abstention. 260 through 293 passes with 7 ayes. 6 ayes, 1 abstention. 294 was tabled. 295 passes with 6 ayes and 1 abstention. 296, 6 ayes and 1 abstention. 297, I'm sorry. Did you, which one did you abstain on? 297. 295 is 7. You abstain on 295 or 297?
On 297.
297 passes with 5 ayes and 2 abstentions.
295 with 7 ayes.
295 was 7 ayes. Okay, 7 ayes. Calendar is complete. Okay, now you have your public comment.
Yes.
Supervisor, I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Just a moment. You got just a moment.
Okay, I'd like to amend, have an aye on 272 as well as 295.
272.
Good catch, Matt.
Let the record reflect, 272 is an aye, passes with 7 ayes. And what was the other one?
295.
295. 295? 295 passes with 6 ayes and 1 abstention. Are we sure?
Start it over.
My apologies, it's 297, I wrote it down as 295, so I'm voting aye for 272 and 297.
Okay, so 297 then will pass with 7 ayes.
And an abstention on 295.
295, which also Lou and Brodo abstained on.
No, I abstained on 297.
297. Okay, so 295 passes with 6 ayes and 1 abstention. I believe we're complete, and we will check the record to make sure it's...
Thank you, we appreciate your clarity, and just to point out, it's 11:30 p.m. and you've been at it since 9 a.m.
Thank you very much.
Supervisor, I make a motion to close the meeting.
Excuse me, I filled out a form, I'm waiting to be called.
No, that's public comment.
Okay.
You can be called on public comment.
Okay. I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Our first speaker will be Andrew Lowett of Syosset.
Left already.
Okay. Thank you. The next speaker is Rosalie Menduni. The next speaker is Ralph Catapano. Hello, Mr. Catapano, how are you tonight?
Very good. Hopefully you'll feel the same when I'm done with you.
What, excuse me?
Hopefully you'll feel the same after I'm done with you.
Well, the public
Okay,
comment.
the first thing I'd like to talk about is I want to thank Councilman Mascarella, Councilman Casignano, and Councilman Macchioni for supporting the Zero Wire Coalition efforts over the years. They've stood behind us. The other people on this town board have no interest whatsoever in the safety and children of our community.
Sir, excuse me, that's not true. And the purpose of this public comment is to find out what your feelings are so that we can adapt government and to listen.
Can I finish with my statement?
But what you can't do is make public assaults on people's character. That's what's against the rules here. We're here to listen, but please, let's do this in a professional manner without character assaults. And that happens to be incorrect. And you should know that. And I know you're interested in knowing that we care. I'm here for approximately 3 months, 2 months, 1 day. So to make a statement like that.
I just find it very interesting, and I'm glad you brought that point up, because the community is very disappointed in you and your obvious lack of interest and concern for the taxpayers and voters concerning Zero Wire.
That's just not the case.
I'm not done. I have my 10 minutes. I talk, you listen. That's how it works.
Actually, sir, we have a decorum here.
I have the floor for 10 minutes.
To say things that are informative, but not to make character assassinations. We want to listen to you.
Numerous attempts were made by myself and other residents requesting meetings with your office and Mr. Lentz. These requests have been ignored. Requests were made through Mr. Dan Pearl and other residents through your office. Is it the policy of the town of Oyster Bay, the common courtesy, where these requests have been ignored, where we do not even get a phone call or a letter? Is this typical the way the town of Oyster Bay conducts business?
No, sir, it's not. And if you have been trying to get a meeting, then I apologize to you.
I spoke to Mr. Dan Pearl 3 months ago.
Okay, yes, okay. Mr. Pearl, would you step up, please? Mr. Catapano would like a meeting regarding Zero Wire. Can you give us a little more specifics on what subject regarding Zero Wire?
Well, let's talk about the cancer.
Okay. This is Mr. Pearl.
I'm fully aware of Mr. Pearl.
Okay, so we want to set up a meeting with you. And what date would work for you?
Whatever is convenient.
Okay.
It's no problem. All I know is, Mr. Saladino, is at the Bethpage Plume meeting, I spoke to Mr. Pearl in the parking lot, and I'll refresh Mr. Pearl's memory, and specifically requested on 3 separate occasions, we are requesting, as taxpayers and voters, a meeting with yourself and Mr. Lenz on the Zero Wire issue. He assured me this matter would be handled and directed to your office. Obviously, it was not, because we have not heard from anyone.
What date are you available?
Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
I have a meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
9:30.
Sir, are you available the following week? I'm looking at Thursday, the 1st of June. Are you available on Thursday, the 1st of June?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to make that at, are you available during the day, daytime hours? During the day, I'll make it convenient for you.
I'll get back to you on it.
Okay. So please call my office at 624-6350. And we have availability on Thursday the 1st. I'd very much like to meet with you. If you'd like to meet over at Miller Place, because that's closer to home.
It's right around the corner from my house.
Let's do that. Let's come up with a time that works for you. And let's meet on the 1st of June. And I will be there, and any of the board members that would like to be there. We need to be there. And I understand that this is a serious issue. And I'm sorry that you've had this.
Yeah, but it seems like only when I have to come here and make public comments do all of a sudden things get done now.
Sir?
Questions have been addressed to your office and they have been ignored. I want to make that very, very clear.
Mr. Campano, we'll be meeting on the 1st of June.
Let me get back to my question, my comments here.
And if that's not available to you, we'll choose another date that does work for you.
Like I said, June 1st I'll have to find out. I mean, I'm not at liberty to give you an answer right this moment. Let me give you the history of Zero Wire.
Sir, would you like to do that at that meeting?
No, I'd like to discuss it in public forum now so other residents can know what really is going on with Zero Wire. Let me give you a history of Zero Wire. I played hide and seek, army, and rode my bicycle on that site. I distinctly remember seeing 55-gallon drums on their side leaking chemicals. How I did not get cancer myself is a miracle. Many adults and children all living in close proximity to Zero Wire have gotten cancer. Others have cancer which I can't even pronounce their names. This is a fact. What is the common denominator? They all live in close proximity to Zero Wire. I guess that's just an amazing coincidence. Let's talk about the name Syosset Park. Nothing could be further than the truth. This is a brilliant marketing campaign, as Syosset Park sounds so much better than Syosset City. This is really what it is, a city, not a park. How can you allow 625 young families to live, work, and play on a documented Superfund site?
Excuse me, sir, just a moment. We haven't allowed 600 families on
That's what the developers are proposing,
But if they are
625 families.
But for the purposes of clarity, and clearly, so that you rest assured, we have made no decision on that. And while there's a proposal out there, it's in its infancy stages to what I've been informed of in my 3 months or so here in the town. So there is nothing that is set in stone on this project, and it's a long way to go and plenty of opportunities for us to visit this with public hearing and public input, and we are not going to ignore the public.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Saldana, because 10 minutes earlier, you said, and this is a direct quote, "We will do whatever it takes to protect our residents." I want to see you back that up with Cyril Wyatt, with the residents over there. Elections are in November. We're not going to forget.
I understand the election business, but more important than elections are people's lives and their safety.
And adults and children have died in close proximity to the site. That is a fact. That is a fact. That is undisputable fact. And I don't see anybody on this board complaining about it or looking into it, except for Mr. Macchione and Mr. Casignano. Children and adults have died in close proximity to the site. That is undisputable. How many millions will it cost to relocate the new sanitation facilities? What about the upcoming lawsuits in the hundreds of millions of dollars from local residents once the TOB issues construction permits? What about the additional lawsuits for children that when they get cancer, that will then go back to the TOB for issuing permits? These actions will bankrupt the town of Oyster Bay. To summarize, Syosset City must be stopped before November 7, 2017. We remind you that TOB has a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers and voters for their safety and quality of life, not the developers.
Sir, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but on that date, I'm not certain that we'll even be at a point where there'll be an application at that point. I believe that is
Then maybe some of you will be looking for alternative employment.
But, no, I'm trying to calm your fears that this is, you seem to be under the impression that this application is going to be railroaded through, or there's some motivation to do that. There is not. Let me just get an answer for you. If I can ask our town attorneys, are we in a position where there is an application coming soon on this site?
I don't think we're anywhere close to a public hearing on this proposal within the next 6 months or possibly a year.
This is a long way off from even a hearing, let alone a decision. We are in no rush to build on this site, and I want to get answers from the experts, and I want to see the science.
Mr. Salvino, you don't need experts. Children and adults have died there.
I'm not questioning that, sir.
That's a fact.
You
don't need to have to hire high-priced lawyers or legal team to look at this. These are undisputable facts.
To go to court, which is the reality in this day and age, you do need some facts, and we do.
And the people are dead? I mean, you've got to be kidding me.
Sir, we're in no rush to put people on this site, and we certainly will not put people in harm. We will not put people in harm's way.
I sure hope so, because like I said, the lawsuits will bankrupt this township.
That's one of the many reasons, but before money comes people's safety. That comes first. And we're not going to put people in harm's way. As you know, it was not the town of Oyster Bay that put chemicals there. And we're not about to give in to any special interest. So it's very important that
You're not going to give in to any special interest. I'm glad you brought that up too. So the developers, they're already pushing for this site to be done as quickly as possible. They're also getting tax credits by developing the site that is with the damaged territory and land.
Okay, you just heard from our town attorney, and you're hearing from me, that we are not rushing to accept an application. There's a long process that goes on here. that is of advantage to you, to the residents, and to the town.
Mr. Saladino, I saw, like I said in my earlier statements, thousands of 55-gallon drums on their side leaking chemicals. Now, as we're finding out with Beth Page, those chemicals go into the ground. This is 50, 60 years later. They don't stay in one area. Obviously, they're moving.
I understand your anger. I understand
Anger.
your
People are
frustration.
dying. I wonder if you'd have that same concern if it was your children. Oh, that's right, you don't have any.
Mr. Catapano.
I think that's inappropriate.
You've been very unfair, Mr. Canapano. We all care very deeply about your community.
I'm glad you brought that up. How come when I sent you an email, you didn't even
Never
respond
sent
to
me.
it?
You've never reached out to my office.
Oh,
If
really?
I did, I would have had a meeting with
Mr.
you.
Cat.
And if I'm wrong, please correct me. I'd be glad to sit down with you. But the motivations of everyone on this board are the well-being of the residents of the town of Oyster Bay, including in your community. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. We don't want to see anybody get sick. Okay, that's what comes first in for all of us. For all of us.
And Mr.
Whether we have
Catapano.
children or not.
Excuse me, Councilman. It's no secret, I don't agree with a lot of stuff that Mr. Saladino does. It's, you know, we have differences of opinions. But this man's record alone on cleaning up groundwater, you gotta give some trust to him. The guy's doing a good job with that. I have a feeling he's gonna follow through responsibly. on Saturday
Maybe so,
Park.
Mr. Macchione, but all I know is I've seen and know personally of friends and relatives and not relatives, of neighbors that their children have died on this
I grew up
site.
next to Liberty Field in Farmingdale. Both my parents died of cancer. A lot of my neighbors have, so I understand what you're saying. I understand the passion.
There's something wrong
I
in this
understand the
site.
passion you have on the site, because I have the same passion about the spot in Farmingdale, and Mr. Saladino did help clean that up. So, but I understand what you're saying, because Liberty Field in Farmingdale is the same way. Cutting through, riding my bicycle through there when I was in junior high school, I saw a green, antifreeze green pond that was frozen. And I saw the barrels over there also. So, you know, this man's record on environmental issues is pretty good. So I give him a lot of credit on this one. I'm gonna give him all benefit of the doubt.
Thank you, Councilman. We are very much looking forward to meeting with you. Any documentation you have, we will listen to, we will be happy to take or have copies of, and we will involve you in the process. No one is in any rush to develop that site, and we certainly put people's health, including your health, first and foremost. I am looking forward to meeting with you either on the 1st or on a date that is convenient, where we can get to, and convenient to you.
That's fine, Mr. Saladino, but like I said to you, as I made my statement earlier, why is it when I made earlier requests through Mr. Dan Pearl, where he assured me it would be taken to the supervisor's office, obviously it wasn't. So somebody lied. That's that simple. Only because I came here is action now being taken. That's a lie.
Sir, the reality is that we weren't...
Don't cover it up.
We were not in a... You don't want this site developed, is what I'm hearing loud and clear. Is that
Nobody,
correct?
the former supervisor Yavoli in 1991 said nothing should be developed on this site for the next 50 years.
Okay.
Because it'll probably close in the dark.
So what makes you feel that we're rushing to develop anything on this site? What evidence have you seen or heard that leads you to believe we're rushing to develop this site?
We want the project stopped, period, Mr. Saladino.
Okay, and as the months go on and you see no building on that site, that will send a very strong message to you. As the months go on and you don't see construction on that site, that will assure you that we are in no rush to develop this site. I'm saying this at a public meeting.
Okay.
We're on the internet, the media is here. No one's pulling your leg. We are in no rush. And you're going to see evidence of that every time you drive by.
When will the next public meetings be held?
On that site,
Yes.
we are a long way off.
Well, there was one last year, in June of 2016, at Harry B. Thompson School by Simon Properties.
Okay.
When will the next public meeting be held?
And that meeting was held by the developer. I believe it was a community outreach by the developer. It was not a meeting that was a part of the secret process, which we...
In other words, it wasn't a meeting that was put on by the town of Oyster Bay. The developer has First Amendment rights to hold a meeting, just like you have a right to go to that meeting and listen. But it wasn't designed or started. I wasn't here at the time, so I'm speaking carefully. But was the town of Oyster Bay involved in initiating that meeting?
I'm not aware of the town's involvement.
Let's let Mr. Catapano know what the next step in the process, so he's better informed. He goes home tonight walking away with some information.
It's difficult, as always, to predict a time frame with something on this scale and this complicated. But what the State Environmental Quality Review Act mandates, among other things, is that a scoping document be drafted and prepared, both by the applicant and by the lead agency, which I believe in this instance will be the town board. That's effectively the table of contents for whatever environmental issues need to be looked at, whether that be flora and fauna, traffic, contamination issues, remediation issues, and anything else that may come within the purview of the state act, along with its implementing regulations. That's the very first step. After that point, the applicant will begin to prepare what's known as the draft environmental impact statement. That draft, however, is not merely one draft. There may be several versions of it. And as I understand it, we're somewhere in that stage. I'm looking back towards the Environmental Resources Department of Planning and Development, but I understand we're somewhere within the draft stage at this point. What would then happen, once a final draft environmental impact statement is prepared, it is submitted, again, for comment and review by the lead agency, at which point, if it meets all of the town or the lead agency concerns, is accepted as the draft environmental impact statement, and a public hearing would then be held thereon. That is months off, a year off. I mean, it's difficult to estimate, Supervisor and the board, but that's the point we're at. After that public hearing, at which point you and any other concerned resident would have the opportunity to provide their comment and impact, or input rather. The developer goes back and has to address each and every comment that's raised at the public hearing. Those can be hundreds of pages. I'm thinking back to a recent land use application, and it was hundreds, if not close to 1,000 pages worth of comments and exchange based upon the comments and testimony that were received at the public hearing alone, which I believe went back, went until about 3 or 4 in the morning. Okay, so after that point, and only after that point, can the town board then, looking at the final environmental impact statement, make a determination as to whether or not the project moved ahead, based upon the assessment of any potential adverse environmental impact on both the residents of the property and anyone else who may be involved. We're at the infancy and the very early stages of this process. You will have the opportunity to be involved. This board will ensure that you have the opportunity to be insured because the law mandates that you have the opportunity to be a participant in that process.
Now, let's rephrase this without the legalese. How long are we talking about, in months or years?
I'll defer to Deputy Commissioner Pearl, but I think this is months, if not a year.
Right now, we received their preliminary draft EIS. We made our preliminary response comments. It's back with the BHP, the applicant's firm that's doing the review.
When would the public be able to get information on environmental testing that's taking place there?
Environmental that's taking place at the Sierra Water Project?
Yes.
I believe that information is available.
Currently available.
We don't have that in environmental resources. That will be kept down with engineering.
Okay. So then what I'm asking, when we do get this date set for this meeting, and I apologize that you didn't get information on when we could meet sooner, because it's clear we need more communication.
Seems like there's always miscommunication with the town.
I would like a copy of that report also, please.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Pearl, because when we had requested through an email this report, we were told that the report was, quote, confidential.
No. Who released that report?
Confidential? Any taxpayer in the town of Oyster Bay is entitled to see that report.
Mr. Capuano, you will see it.
Oh, we got it now. Only under the threat of legal action did we finally receive the report.
Well, that's a shame.
It is a shame, that's what you have to resort to with the town.
No.
You know, you talk about transparency.
Sir.
Okay, Supervisor, just a point of clarity.
Yes.
What the speaker has just indicated is not an entirely accurate statement. He received a draft of the draft statement. Okay, so there may be other comments, statements, analysis that goes into what is ultimately the draft environmental impact statement. So you don't have a final statement. Let's be clear about that, please.
I'm fully
And-
aware of that. I
and
know
Mr.
more about the
Capano,
terminology.
I was involved with that, and it wasn't because of a threat of legal action. As soon as it was brought to my attention, I discussed it with the town attorney's office, and once we determined that it was legal for us to release this information, it was released.
That's interesting, Mr. Umbrella, because when we sent emails, I think maybe about a month went by before there was any response from anyone.
No.
Could you respond to that?
Mr. Catapano, I'd like
That's
to...
an amazing
Mr.
coincidence.
Catapano, I'd like to respond.